Right. Hey guys, and thank you for coming to today's author chat. This is the last one for this week. I hope you guys enjoy this one. We are talking with Catherine McKenzie, which I am very happy that you had a very easy name to pronounce, because I never know. I never know if the way I'm pronouncing it is correct. And I'm also very excited because the main character in this book, her name is Jessica, so I had no problems. Oh, yeah, I saw that you got your finished copies, right?
Yeah. Well, the book came out on Tuesday, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I see you have a poster behind your head too.
Yeah, it's actually a puzzle.
Oh, it's a puzzle?
It's a puzzle. Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So this is not your debut. You are a seasoned writer. So tell us a little bit about you and your books and
Sure.
And
so I live in Montreal, Canada, where I am right now, and You Can't Catch Me is my 10th novel that just came out on Tuesday. And it's about a woman named Jessica who meets another woman named Jessica, same name and birthday, in an airport bar. And a week later, she returns from her vacation. All her money is missing. And it turns out that obviously this Jessica stole from her, and the police are not going to do anything about it. So she decides to go looking for her herself and finds a string of other Jessicas who've all been defrauded by Jessica 2, as she calls herself, the bad Jessica.
Yeah, this book was just so insane. Like, it just started and you learned a little bit about Jessica, and then, she sits at this bar and starts talking, and that whole exchange just reminded me of a movie that was out, like, I don't even know how long ago, but what was it? Now You See Me. And part of that movie, they like dupe the guy that's their boss to steal all his funds. Hey, Allie. And they start asking him kind of the same questions in an incognito way. Okay. So it really made me, it reminded me of that. And like, oh, this ain't good. Bad. It's bad. You don't answer questions about like your mother's maiden name and your first animal and all that stuff, because that's always what they do for security questions. So I've got to ask, when you finished writing this with all of that, did you go on and like change all your security questions for all your banking and everything?
No, but these are not answers about me, so it doesn't matter. It's fiction.
Went on and like changed it to other things other than like my mother's maiden name and my first animal and all of those. Use something like off the wall.
Yeah. Well, most people don't know what my mother's maiden name is. And other than that, yeah, I'm not somebody who shares a lot of personal stuff online. So I'm not so worried.
She's safe.
Hopefully. Who knows?
Right?
Yeah.
Well, guys, if you were just joining us, you can ask questions in the live chat. You can also tweet them out or toss them on Facebook or Instagram. If you toss them out there, just make sure you tag me or DM me individually, and I will ask them on air. So let's see. There's that one. I still think it's hilarious that the main character's name was Jessica because, it's a common name.
Yeah. Well, what year were you born in? I won't ask for your birthday, but
you're fine. 82.
82, yeah. So when I did the book, I knew I wanted to be a common name. And so when I decided how old the character was going to be, I give all my characters a birth date. And then I went and I looked what was the most common woman's first name in the States in the year that she was born. And it was Jessica. And it was Jessica for about 15 years. So going back to the 80s and maybe even the 70s, going up to, I think, 1995, Jessica was the number one girl's name.
I know that.
In the States. So there you go. Yeah. And my name, which is less common now, but when I was born in 1973, and I always had at least 3 Catherines in any school class that I was in, spelled various different ways.
Of course.
Yeah. So I kind of knew what that was like growing up. How, being surrounded by other people with the same name was a common experience for me.
Right. It can get pretty crazy. I grew up down here in Florida, and I'm originally from Ohio. And when we moved out to St. Petersburg, I was like the 7th Jessica in this one class for 5th grade.
Oh my God.
By the time the school year was over, there was like 9 of us. And at that point I was like, okay, so I'm just going to go by my middle name as Lauren. It's spelled completely off the wall, so nobody will have that, and we'll be just fine. Because it was just getting insane.
Yeah.
It was getting so insane. So how did you get the idea for this story? Because I mean, this girl, Jessica, she grew up in a cult, and then she gets out of the cult, and
Right.
then of course her career blows up, and all of this happens. This girl just cannot catch a break.
She's had a lot of bad things happen to her, that's for sure. I think, I had two things that were the genesis of the story. The book is dedicated to my friend Christy Brown, which is a pretty common name. And I travel with her a lot to the States. And for several years, we would get stopped because there was a warrant out for the arrest of somebody who was, we think, a man whose name was Chris Brown, but had the same birthday as her. And it was so close to her name that it would pop up a flag, and the border guards did not have any discretion. So she had to go inside or into the back room. And, it was obviously, they were not looking for her. That was always obvious. They would never really tell us who this other person was. But we kind of put clues together over the years. And she got crazy advice, like, well, just change your name and things. I was like, what? Why? I'm not a criminal. I shouldn't change my name. So, eventually, I think they caught this person because the flag has been lifted. And then in the same time, I met another woman I was at a book festival in Kentucky, and a woman came up to me and asked me what my middle name was. And I was like, wow, why are you asking? And she's like, well, because my name is Catherine McKenzie, spelled the same way as you. Oh, and it turns out that we have the same middle name as well.
No.
Yeah. Well, very strange. Crazy. And we actually kind of look a little bit alike. We have similar coloring. But we did not have the same birthday. So I think I just had those two things in my head. And it occurred to me one day, the way authors' brains work, that if you had the same name and birthday as someone, you could steal stuff from them pretty easily because on paper, you are them.
Right.
And so I started there and I went from there.
That is insane. So have you personally ever had to deal with anything like what happened in the book, or?
I have not been the victim of identity theft, thankfully. I think somebody did steal my Netflix password a couple months ago.
Oh, no.
But I immediately got an alert, or suddenly I was watching something and I got kicked out of Netflix and I couldn't get back in. And I'm like, huh? What's happening? And I realized somebody had stolen my password. So I changed it. And then I realized they'd actually gotten into they changed the password to my author Gmail account, which was my login for Netflix at the time. It's not him anymore, people. And so that I actually had to go through all my security questions and kick that person out. So I don't know what they were trying to do. There's nothing of interest in my author account. I do not keep my banking information in there. And Netflix was a stupid thing to choose because I knew in 2 seconds that somebody had done this, right? So they got to watch 5 minutes of a show, maybe. So, but I guess they're just looking for people who have dormant accounts or whatever. I don't know what they're trying to do, but yeah.
Well, I mean, nowadays, I know Netflix, anytime I do anything, you get an email for it.
Right. Well, in Gmail, if there's an unusual sign in.
Yeah.
And it'll say, somebody signed in from Toledo, Ohio. And I'm like, well, that wasn't me, so yeah.
I know I had gotten an email because I'm the security email for all my kids. And I got an email that somebody logged in and it said they were in Tampa or something. I'm like, okay, nope. That's not right. Yep. Well, it ended up being my daughter because I went in and reset her password thinking that something was wrong. She's like, Mom, I can't log into my email. And I'm like, did you just log in earlier? And she's like, yeah, I did it because she was at school. And I'm like, well, sorry.
Whoopsie-daisy.
Oopsie. And everybody was getting the same thing because for some reason, I mean, her school is not anywhere near Tampa.
So strange.
Whatsoever. But that's the location always gives. It's so weird. It's they might Gmail or Google Gmail needs to update their location software because
I guess so.
Right there. Somebody right there. So this cover is just, I love this cover.
Oh, great.
Her hair in it. And then the other cover is for Canada, right?
That's for Canada, yeah.
I love both of these covers. It's not very, very often that I actually love both covers to a book.
Cool.
So did you have any say in the matter for the cover?
The way it works is, they hire a cover designer and I'll get a brief, which has sometimes between 2 and 5 different possibilities for the cover. And I'm pretty sure this one was there from the beginning. Maybe it didn't look exactly like this. Sometimes the font will be different on the name or the color will be different. but it stood out right away. And then we picked it, and it was going to be the cover in Canada as well. But then Megan Miranda's new book has actually a very similar cover to mine, even though the story is quite different. And we're published by the same publisher in Canada. So they're like, hey, sorry, but you need to change your cover in Canada. So that's how I ended up with a separate cover in Canada.
So how does that work? Because of course it was published in the US and then it was published in Canada. So
Yeah.
how does that work, being published in two different countries?
I mean, lots of different ways, but it's kind of common for me because I'm from Canada, and I live in Canada. So, all the big publishing houses have a Canadian branch of their publishing arms, and I'm actually with Lake Union in the U.S. and I'm with Simon & Schuster Canada in Canada, and we work collaboratively, but it's its own publishing schedule. And again, the pub date was supposed to be the same, but because of COVID and all the bookstores being closed, my book actually got pushed to August in Canada. Yep. So I'll have to go through all the launch jitters all over again, the whole thing all over again.
That's good though. You just get even more exposure. You can't beat that.
Yeah.
So did you sell it to the US first or to Canada?
I think in this case, I'm trying to think now, I might have actually sold it in Canada first, but this is the 6th book that I've done with Lake Union in the US, and it's the 3rd book I've done with Simon & Schuster in Canada. So when you already have published a book, your publisher has what's called an option on your next book. So you have to show it to them first, and they have the opportunity to make an offer on it. So people tend to stay with their publishers, not always, but
that's so cool. It's just those little tidbit things that you don't know. You don't know. And I always find it so fascinating. A lady that I work with at the used bookstore where I work with, she's actually from Canada, and now she's a U.S. My brain just died.
Citizen?
U.S. citizen, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was asking her about the process for her green card and stuff, and I was like, it's so interesting because you don't know about it unless you've gone through it or you ask somebody else that has gone through it. Right. It's just, I'm not totally being nosy. It's just so interesting.
Fine.
So why did you decide to have Jessica's backstory from her, surviving from a cult and getting out of that situation? Because I would totally love a prequel to this one.
Just about the cult
story. Yeah. Where she gets out of it.
Yeah. I just think it was the first book in a long time where I had written one point of view for the book. So my previous book, I'll Never Tell, had 7 narrators, and The Good Liar had 3. Well, it had 2 and then sort of a 3rd. And anyway, it really had been a very long time. I have to go back to my book, Forgotten, which I published in 2012, since I'd written just a book within it, one narrator the whole time. And so that was a challenge. And the thing is, when you write a book that it only has one narrator, you have to give that person a really interesting backstory because you end up spending more time in the past just to fill the pages and fill the story, to be totally mechanical about it. So I wanted something that was interesting, and I've always kind of been obsessed and fascinated by cults. And it's such an interesting way to grow up. I actually know a couple of people who were raised in cults and left, as young adults. And it really shaped their view of the world, obviously, right? It's a very strange, kids don't choose to join the cult, right? The adults choose the environment, but then these kids are born into it and go through various levels of experience with it. So it was just something that for a long time has fascinated me. And I like the idea of having somebody who had maybe a different moral code or had to learn, what our rules are, the things that we just learned by osmosis growing up, that she didn't have those things. And she, at 18, got launched into this world. And it wouldn't be that different than coming out of a very strict religious upbringing. Right. Or, you can think of other examples, right? If you grew up as a Mormon in the LDS church and you moved to New York City, would you even know how anything operates in New York? Right. You might not, So I just like that idea of sort of a fish out of water and how that could affect her view of things. A lot of people have told me that they were, it it was actually a challenge because I think I almost did it too well the past. Like at one point I was like, I've made the backstory more interesting than the forest story. So I need to like readjust here. But hopefully it makes sense why those two narratives are there, because they do tie together in the end.
But man, I would seriously love another story, that's all predating all this about her being, growing up in the cult and everything else. Because that would be so
Maybe.
interesting.
I tend to just write standalone, so.
See, that's easier sometimes because then you don't have to worry about, figuring out, okay, what did these people do in the last story? I know
it's way easier.
the last few authors that I spoke with yesterday and the day before, they all did. One did a duology, and one, I think, Lori's on the 6th book in the series, and they're all like 500 pages. Yeah, and I'm like, I would never keep anything straight, like ever. I would never.
That's hard. You have to definitely keep a detailed Bible of your own books so that you're not making mistakes. And I
would mess something up. I just know it.
And then readers notice that stuff too.
Right. You're right. And it would be something that would be so off the wall and probably just a little detail. And somebody would catch it, be like, yo, this didn't happen. So why did you decide to have this one as just one POV instead of dual or whatever? Because I think it would have been interesting to have, a combo of maybe Jessica's, Liam's, and maybe even Jessica 2's.
Right.
That would have been really interesting.
I think, again, I think I set a challenge for myself with each book, and I thought it would be interesting to spend the whole time with one character in just in a way, I don't want to repeat myself. And I had written many, many books with multiple narratives and multiple points of view. And I just wanted to pare it back and really just get down into the story. And there's another reason which I cannot explain without giving away the twist at the end. But there is something inherent to this first person storytelling that goes with a twist. So that's why.
Yep. This book had a lot of twists in it. And then those letters at the end were just phenomenal.
Thanks.
And I wasn't, because it's like an epilogue, but kind of not. And it worked so well.
Thank you.
So somebody said there was a part where somebody was packing a suitcase and they wanted to know if that's how you pack.
Oh my God. A part in the book where someone's packing a suitcase? Yeah. I don't even remember what happens in that part. Isn't that terrible? The thing is, like, because I publish a book a year, I've already written next year's book and have started on the one for the year after. So sometimes like the fine granular details are not in my head anymore. But I can share how I pack. So over time, I have learned that I sometimes end up places and I don't have like underwear or t-shirts or whatever. So I tend to like do a big load of laundry. And as I'm, instead of putting it away, I'll put it into a suitcase. And then I will take everything out and make sure that I have enough pairs of underwear and enough pairs of socks and workout clothes. And so I don't tend to pack quickly. And I really try, I also historically overpack. But not because I bring 50 pairs of shoes or anything like that, but, or that I dress so fancy.
Right.
So that's how I pack. But I don't remember in the book how somebody packed. I really don't.
Well, guys, whoever asked that question, I'm so sorry, but I fully understand that. Other authors that I've talked to, of course, like by the time that the book is published, it could have been a year, 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, this book was copy edited, like put to bed last October. Yeah. So, I don't know.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It is gone.
It's gone.
Fully understand that because it's like I've been on nothing but a reading binge, and I started another book this morning. So I had read this one yesterday, and I'm like, even bits and pieces of it, are just like I'm trying to think about the suitcase thing now as well. And I just read it yesterday, and I'm just like, I got.
You'd be like, what happened again in that book?
I got nothing.
Sure. Yeah. No, I hear you.
So how long does it usually take you to write a book?
So traditionally, I start a book January 1, and I'll have a complete draft by the end of the year. Oh, wow. That's what I try to do. I'm kind of off by half a year right now because I wrote 2/3 of a book that ended up not working out. So, but that's my goal. And then there's editorial and all that stuff. That takes like another 9 months usually. So it usually, to get to like from first words on a page to a completed manuscript, is a year and a half at least. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what you stated that you were done with your next book and you were working on the book after that.
Right.
Can you tell us anything about those at all?
Yeah, I mean, the next year's book is about a woman who discovers that she has 6 weeks to live, but she was poisoned a year before, and so she tries to figure out who poisoned her before she dies.
Wow, that's like, whoa. That is crazy.
Yeah.
So you'll stay within the genre and like the age group of adult thrillers, or do you think you'll
for now, I mean, I think, you know, I'm always, yeah, I mean, I think I'm always trying to write stories that are interesting to me. So if I get an idea for something that's completely different and that's what I'm obsessed with writing, then I might write that. And I think, you know, what I hope that I bring to the page, because I come out of women's fiction, that I'm not just writing like a pure thriller, but I have these other backstories to them, and there's a lot of characterization, and the characters' full life story is important too. Mm-hmm. So I hope that, you know, that's something maybe a little unique that I'm bringing to the space. I think a lot of these domestic thrillers are about husbands and wives, but I don't actually tend to write that story. So, you know, I think I'm writing definitely in the thriller suspense space, but my story in this case, for instance, you know, she's not married. It's not about that. And my book, I'll Never Tell, last year's book, was about 5 siblings who inherit a summer camp as adults, and, you know, a murder had happened there 20 years before. So there's a family dynamic to the story, but it's not that sort of traditional, like, did her husband do it? Or, in fact, I've never written one of those. Maybe that would be my challenge next, you know, but yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Apparently one of the children forgot to feed the dogs.
Oh, whoopsie.
They always happen when I'm live. It's always so much fun.
No worries.
Let's see. Found my list of questions.
Cool.
So do you think that you would ever do like a full-on occult thriller?
I don't think so. You know, my thrillers are pretty bloodless. Like, so there is a murder that happens, and I think this is really the first murder that I wrote on screen, as they say, as opposed to like,
I was like,
yeah, right. And that was like, okay, like I had to like psych myself up to do that. So I don't like super gory books. I think that, you know, I like, you know, the scary music before the bad thing happens, and I don't like horror films, for instance, but the scary music before they go into the basement, where, you know, like, that's more the atmosphere that I'm trying to invoke. Right. So I don't need to see what's in the basement. I just need to make you scared about the basement without taking you there.
I love that, though. I love that, because like, that's just perfect. Maybe like maybe a cozy mystery thriller, cult thriller, maybe.
I already did a cult.
No blood, guts, and gore in those.
Yeah, no. I mean, I you know, and I my book I'll Never Tell was really, I was trying to write an Agatha Christie mystery in a set set group of people. You know, one of them did it. It's a specific amount of time. So yeah, I try and challenge myself each time to do something different. And like, never say never. Like, I start off writing romantic comedies, like, so, you know, obviously I've changed over time, and we'll see. Who knows?
I have to check those out. I love the funny books. Those are really good. Those are like the very few adult books that I actually read. Like, when I first saw this book, I did not realize that it was adult. When I saw the cover, I thought it was YA.
Oh, really?
And then once I started making up the banners, and I'm like, oh, this is adult. Oh, okay, we can go for this. And
Well,
then
she's only 30. That's YA now, isn't it? Right. Yeah.
right, that we had the same name. So I'm like, okay,
There you go. Fine.
I'm fully invested now.
Well, you might like my book Spin, which, though it's not technically YA, definitely could have been marketed that way. And it's about a journalist who follows a celebrity into rehab, but it's a comedy. So
What's it called?
Spin.
Spin?
Yeah, that was my first published novel.
Spin. Now, if I could spell, that would be great. Come on, phone. You can do it.
SPIN.
See how? Oh, there it is. Oh, and thought you do standalones.
Only standalones. Yeah. Oh, is that what it says on Google?
Yeah, it's a duology.
Oh, there is a second. I did a novella about one of the characters in that book.
Oh, okay.
And it's called Spun. Because I'm clever like that with the titles.
I love this cover. That is hilarious. She's just like
It's a good cover.
Face planted into the bed. Man, that is like a day after work for me.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Well, that looks to be all the questions that we have today.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Jessica.
This book was
great.
Oh,
thank you.
Definitely will have to check out your other ones as well. And I cannot wait for the one. You said that one's coming out next year?
Yeah, it's called 6 Weeks to Live. Right now, the title might change, but so.
Okay, I wonder if it's.
Put me on your list for next year. I'll come back and talk about it.
I'm actually booking people for next year already.
I don't have a pub date yet, so
arranged. I think we had that one.
Oh, cool.
That cover looks very familiar.
All right.
You guys definitely check out Catherine's books. I did have that one. Hey, I've read some of your books in the past, and I didn't even realize.
Oh, see?
I didn't look at all the other books when I was making up the banner for it. But yeah, we had Hidden.
Cool.
And Smoke.
Oh, you read lots of my books.
Apparently. I'm like, wait a second. I've seen that before.
Too funny.
Well, that's awesome. Woo! Well, now I'm here that I got you on the show.
Nice.
Woo. Yay. Yeah, so just let me know when you get a pub date and I will toss you on schedule.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good night. Bye.
Guys, you can check us on for next week. The shows are already posted for RSVP. I can bring up YouTube here for a second.
I'm going to go. Okay, bye.
You're fine. Have a good day. You can catch us next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Again, if the internet wants to work, there is lightning and stuff in the area. So we will be talking with Elizabeth Keenan of Rebel Girls on the 18th at 8 p.m. This book looks amazing. I love the front of the cover because it says riots, not something. I don't remember. I don't think I can. No, I can't. Oh, maybe I can. No, it's all blurry. I cannot see it. I'll just bring up the covers on here. I should have been way more prepared for this today, but we've had storms. Bye, Allie. Constantly. It says riots, not diets, and it is Rebel Girls. We will be talking to her Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it says stand with the girl beside you. And then we will also be chatting with, go back to my list here, Jennifer Honeyborn, who has written a slew of different books. And I am beyond excited. Here is her newest title, The Do-Over. I am so excited to talk to her because she wrote another book called When Life Gives You Demons, and it is so hilarious and it is so good, and that is about all I remember from it. I'm actually going to be rereading it this week, and I'm so excited. But we're going to be talking to her on the 19th at 5 p.m. And then we're also going to be chatting it up once again with an author that we've already had on the show that I apparently do not have her cover on here anymore. It is what is it? Kimberly Gabriel. She is the author of Every Soul and Breath, and that one is another thriller, but it's a YA thriller, and it's about a girl that is trying to avenge her father's death. And I mean, this book I read like way long ago, so I mean, I can tell you guys a pretty good amount of what happens in this book, so you know that just tells you how good it is. So definitely tune in then, and that is on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, as always, we have openings all throughout this year, and I'm starting to book people for next year. So if you have a favorite author that you want them to come on the show, please let me know their information. You can tweet it out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, and let me know, and I will attempt to get them on the show. So I'm very excited. We've got a whole bunch of authors coming on this month and next month and all the way up until December, and I'm so excited to read all of their books and share all of my thoughts with you guys. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and stay safe, stay dry if you're down south like where I am and it is pouring outside, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.